What's up, everybody? This is Jeff Bernard with Solve Systems, and today we're going to learn how to create an SFTP Azure Blob server for the purposes of getting data from Paylocity via SFTP reports. Sounds complicated. It's not that complicated, and the purpose of this is to be able to get data from Paylocity rather than having to use the next-gen API or the original API, the first version API. And really the reason is you can't get all the data that you need from those APIs. So some of those data points are going to be delivered through SFTP if they aren't available on the API. So we're going to go through the documentation and then we'll go through an implementation in Microsoft Azure Blob Storage using WinSCP FTP client. So stay tuned and we'll get right to it. This is the self-serve secure file transfer protocol SFTP documentation from Paylocity. It gives you a few things that you need, which are the name, the description, integration, the host name, which we'll go over, the directory, the username, the password or key file, and the port number, which will always be 22 for SFTP. One of the main things that you need to know going forward with Paylocity is that you'll need to engage Account Manager to get this set up, and then you'll also need to know that you can be the server, meaning they'll send you the data from Paylocity, or they can host the FTP server. The easier route is going to be you setting this up, which is why we're going over this. We'll make it pretty painless, and then we'll be able to share a piece of data to the FTP server. Mind you that we're not going to be sending it from Paylocity because I don't have an admin login for that, but this will emulate the same thing using the Microsoft stack. So let's get into the actual implementation. As you can see, we have our control plane open with a resource group, and we're going to simply just create a blob. So we create, we're going to search blob storage, and then it'll be all the way to the right. All right, so we named it Paylocity solved. We're gonna review, but we're gonna take a step back. We're gonna go to advanced up here. We're going to enable hierarchical namespace, enable SFTP. We're going to go to review and create now and create. Create once more, and then we'll wait for those resources to spin up. So we have our blob created, and then we see that enabling SFTP has an hourly billing impact, something to be mindful of. Want to go and check that, make sure you're good with those suggestions and those pricing schemes. We're going to create a container. So we have our container created. We can see that there. And then we're going to scroll down to SFTP settings. So settings and then SFTP. We're going to add a local user. FTP admin, and there we're going to go with the SSH password. It's going to go over to permissions. We're going to choose our container. We're going to just give it an all permissions. You probably want to be a little more intentional about this on your setup, and we're going to give it the Paylocity container that we created as the directory. We're going to add these things in there, and we'll see that we get a password. We're going to save the password, and then from there, we'll go and test this out. So I have a VM on a Windows machine running, and we're going to test out the FTP function. So we'll need a few details here. We'll get the connection string there, or the host name, and then the password here, and then we're going to log in, we'll see we're logged in, and then we'll drop some information on here. So we'll get a image, and we'll just come and drop it into the blob. We'll see it spins up the transfer. We can check in the Paylocity storage. Seeing images in there, the image that we uploaded, and we can generate a SAS token to be able to view that information. So we see, and we indeed saved it. One thing we want to make sure of, which we can actually look there, is this is a screenshot of it. So in the Paylocity setup, this is the options that you'll have. You'll give it a name, any name, to identify the integration. Then you'll add in your URL that is from the blob. So your SFTP connection name, your local user, which will be over here. Let's go and get that. So you'll want to give it this user. And then the directory, we can give it the directory, but we have sort of bound that endpoint to the directory already, so you don't really need it. Port 22 is going to be there. That's what port we're on in Azure. We saw that earlier. Username and password. So it's going to be the same thing that it was in the WinSCP that we just covered, which will be, this will be your username. The password will be the password that it's given you, and the host will be this. So amongst all these things, this has enabled us to create a server for out of blob storage, so we don't have to go spin up extra resources. We have our blob storage, and we'll be able to send from Paylocity to the blob storage whatever files that we want that aren't available on the APIs that are available. What's cool about this is that we can then do further automation into logic apps and parse information, send it to other systems that we have via automation. Pretty neat. I thought that this was an interesting use case for blob storage, and so hopefully you find it interesting as well. If you need any help with integrations, please reach out to me. You can look in the description and find our contact form there, and we would love to set something up with you and work with you to develop any technology needs that you have. So look forward to talking to you, and we'll see you later.